Rakos for hosting this and give him the microphone to start off our meeting. Let's give it up for 6th District Councilman Scott Rakos.
I don't know, maybe we should have it in January all the time. Look at the crowd we got today. Welcome everybody. It's really good to see the big crowd today. I'm real excited about what's going on in Hessville. This is excited as I've ever been. We got really good projects going on. Kennedy Avenue will be done at the end of the year, and I'm really excited about that. At one point, we weren't sure we were going to have traffic going both ways on Kennedy Avenue, and because I was able to work with Mark and Dean and all the people that are in charge of that project, we were able to get that the way it is now and slow people down and let them see how nice it looks on the side that's done, and let them see how good it's going to look on the other side too. And again, what I like to talk about is leveraging, how we leverage money, like the gaming money that the mayor has and the councilmen have, or the state government or the Fed government, the ARP money. It helps get things get done a whole lot better. I just want to speak briefly because I know we got a lot to talk about, but HC3, I'm really proud of that. Organization's been really growing. I first joined about 6 years ago, and we just put on a Frostyville Christmas party at the old Hanson Library. Happened an hour or two after the city parade, and it was a wonderful, great event. We really like it. We've got a bunch of other stuff going on. The next thing coming up, we're going to try to do a St. Patrick's Day parade. It'll be on St. Patrick's Day. It'll be a twilight parade, and will be a whole lot more information coming out on that, and we're real excited about that as well. So I'll turn it over to the mayor now, and thank you for coming out again.
Thanks, Councilman. I'd like to thank Juan Soto and his staff for the use of the Gene Shepherd Community Center. Could you give it up for Juan? And thanks for making their building available, Juan. And I'd also like to thank Kathy from Tradewinds for helping us with our interpretation. Could you give it up for Kathy? You're welcome. Next Mayor's Night Out is March 22nd, when we're going to our first district at the Lost Marsh. We do these 6 times a year. As a reminder, if this is your first time, we go off the written question. So where's the main table, Eva? The main table is in the back there, right over there, right on the other side of the sound wall. If you come in, fill out a question, we get it to Sharon, who's right here. Sharon's going to be running things today. Eileen usually runs things, but she's still on vacation. She got stranded on vacation, so she couldn't make it today. So Sharon's going to be running it today. Sharon has a microphone in her hand, and so has Kim. And what they're going to do is if you have a question, so we start off with the subject. And by the way, I know there's a lot of people here to talk about the bridge, the bridge that goes over to Norfolk Southern. We're going to start off with that topic today. We're not even going to bring up a question on it because I know there's a lot of people here to talk about it. So if you have a question, you raise your hand. Either Kim or Sharon will come up to you and hold the microphone, and they're holding it to you so that we could hear you at home. I could hear you. That's for the TV camera so the people at home can hear you, okay? So that's how we go. We'll go ahead and start off on my right, on your left, and introduce all the participants today, all the department heads for the city. Let's go ahead and start.
Megan Moore, City Controller.
Jeff Smith, Fire Department.
Tiffany Shelton, IT Department.
Jim Talon, Park Department.
Africa Tarver, Planning and Development.
Levita Sparks Wade, United Neighborhoods.
Zeke Inahosa, Hammond Police Department.
Mylon Krasinski, Port Authority. Kevin Smith, Corporation Counsel.
Scott Miller, School City of Hammond.
Phil Talon, Chief of Staff.
Scott Rakos, 6th District Councilman.
Dean Button, Engineering.
Ron Novak, Environmental.
Brian Poland, City Planning.
Nicholas Farrow, Code Enforcement.
Jaime Prieto, Water.
Marty Wilgus, Hammond Sanitary District.
Jack Smith, Sewer Maintenance.
Felix Gonzalez, Public Works.
Owana Miller, Community Development.
Renee Ortega, Legal Aid.
Carmen Paniagua, Housing Authority.
Bob Vale, Building Department.
Okay. That's Sharon Daniels. She's with city's personnel and with the College Bound. And while we're talking about personnel, we have open positions for people out there interested in working for the city of Hammond. We have open positions right now for correction officers that work in the Hammond jail, and it's a pipeline to becoming either a firefighter or a police officer. We also have open positions as kennel master in the Hammond animal control, and we have open positions for CDL drivers right now as well. So if you know anybody that satisfies any of these positions and lives in the city of Hammond, give them a heads up. And if they don't live in the city of Hammond and are willing to relocate within a timely manner, they could still get a job with the city. But city residency is required. We're here to talk, well, it's Mayor's Night Out, but I'm going to talk about an obvious topic because I know there's a number of people here that want to talk about the proposal to get state funding to build a bridge over the Norfolk Southern tracks. I find it particularly interesting we're talking about this today because over the holidays, for anybody that lives in this part of the city, there was a train blockage for almost 4 days straight in Hessville. The train didn't move for 4 days. And I was thinking to myself, because I knew this day was coming where we were going to get together and we were going to talk about this issue, I find it helpful because that builds the case right there. When you're the mayor of a city, your job is to represent the city and take care of the city's problems. And when people give you, and the benefit of sitting in the chair I sit in is all the complaints in our city go through that chair. So I get the benefit of hearing what the main topics, the main complaints are in the city of Hammond. And without a doubt, for a Hessville resident, the number one complaint I get, and I'm not saying I don't get complaints about, crime, I don't get complaints about this or that, but the number one complaint I get from anybody that lives in this part of the city, this is where I live also, it took me 3 minutes to get here, is trains. And now we've gone through, over the years I've been mayor 20 years now. Over the years I've been mayor, I've learned a lot about trains. And I'm going to give you a summation of my experience working with trains. They are more powerful than a city. They have more clout than a city. They are more powerful than a state. They have more clout than a state. The Hammond police can't do anything about this. The trains laugh at them if they want to give them a ticket. Our governor can't do anything about this. Our congressmen can, our senators can, the president of the United States can. They just don't. Okay? It's a fact. So I can't help you when a train parks in Hammond for 4 days. I can't help you. I could get pissed with you. I could put it on Facebook. I could put them on blast. But I can't do anything to stop that behavior. It's impossible. They're stronger than the mayor. They're stronger than the governor. The only thing I could do to deal with this problem is get you over it. And we've got the state of Indiana willing to help us with a substantial part of a bridge to get us over this stopped train. Train stopped for 3 days in this neighborhood. And that's the number one issue. And if it's not the number one issue, I'm making a horrible political mistake, and I'm going to suffer the consequences for that horrible political mistake because this year's election year. And I'm hanging my hat on this one. As your mayor, I think I know what's best for this community. I've been your mayor 20 years, and if I'm wrong, I'm going to pay the price, I promise you, because I think this is the right thing to do. I'm going to explain to you why I think it's the right thing to do. I'm going to tip my cap at your passion. For those of you that are worried about the environment, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I'm not mad at you. We don't hate trees. I hate stopped trains. I hate what it does to our city because it makes it dangerous. Chief Smith, could you grab a microphone? This is our Hammond Fire Chief. How long have you been Fire Chief?
11 years.
You know how long you've been in the fire department?
30.
I know because some people don't trust me because they think I'm a politician and I'm a liar, okay? I think a lot of people trust firefighters, right?
I hope so.
Okay. So I'm going to assume people are trust you more than trust me. Chief Smith, did you realize that there was a stop train in Hessville for 3 or 4 days?
I was told about it from my guys over the weekend.
So what happens now? Let's say I live by Hess School because I know where the weaknesses, the vulnerabilities of our city are. If I had a heart attack and I live by Hess School, my normal firehouse that's going to respond to me is Station 8, right?
Yes.
That's right over there by
63rd, 6300 block of Parish.
Okay. So that's the normal. So if I was having a heart attack at Hess School, that would be the station that responds.
Yes.
What do you do when you have a stopped train like you had?
You got to reroute. If that was the case, we'd probably have to take 69th over to Klein Avenue to get on Klein Avenue, to get on the Borman, to get on Kennedy, to come back in. Or we could go down 69th West to Kennedy, but, you know, there's the same set of tracks, but there could be a train going eastbound. So
What do you think the response time from Station 8 to Hess School is?
With no train, probably 3 to 4 minutes, 5 at the most.
Is that satisfactory? 3, 4, 5 minutes?
Our average response times for the ISO rating that the city has is 3 to 4 minutes. Every station in the city, we can get to one location within 3 to 4 minutes. So our ISO rating actually went down last year, which in turn saved the homeowners insurance, their homeowners insurance money.
Okay. So what is it with the train? What do you think the response time to Hess School is?
By the time we rerouted, it would probably 7 to 8, 9 minutes longer to get to the location.
Is that normal for you guys to jump on Klein? I mean,
well, only time we'd get on Klein Avenue if we were going to the Borman or Klein Avenue for a car accident.
Or if there's a train.
Or if there's a train, yes.
So like during that whole period of time, Station 8's jumping on Klein to respond to the other side of the tracks.
Yes.
Dean, could you talk a little bit about this project? About the bridge project, about how much it costs.
Sure.
Why we chose the route we chose, things like that. This is the city engineer. How long you been a professional engineer, Dean?
34 years.
34 years?
Yes, sir.
Okay. People trust engineers also. They don't trust mayors. They trust engineers and firefighters. So I'm
We
giving
try
you
to do the right thing. We have a code
because
of
I'm
ethics.
a liar and I'm lying to people
Well, you're
because I
not,
just
Mayor.
hate trees.
I
So-
know you well, and you're not.
So
but-
do me a favor and explain this project to.
Yeah, so in 2018, the Indiana legislature, through the Department of Transportation, started a program called Local Tracks to do railroad grade separations throughout the state. There were some 25 applications that were made, and we made one, and ours was sort of unique because we looked at grade separations along the existing corridor, right, along either Parish or 173rd or Grand, because we thought we would confine ourselves to rights of way that we already owned. My colleague Mark Gordish and I came up with an idea that Hammond owned undeveloped property, about 2/3 of the property that was undeveloped, that we could construct a railroad grade separation project without affecting any, well, 2 homes. We have to take 2 homes. Without
And those are the homes on 173rd, right?
2 homes on 173rd, just east of Paris Barbershop.
Gotcha.
So we're taking 2 houses. But any other project that we would have selected on 173rd or Grand or Parish, whether it be an overpass or a tunnel, would have affected easily 50 homes, whatever project we chose, and we would have taken 50 homes, and we would have impacted hundreds of residents' lives by the way they would have to access those streets in a different way. And I think particularly the area south of the railroad tracks on Parish, right, between 173rd and Parish, we would cut off all of the homes on the east side of the street, both north and south of the tracks, and the neighborhood there to the west of the tracks. You wouldn't be able to get out to Klein either because the tunnel was sort of blocking or the bridge was blocking. And so we thought that this was a very good, unique, sort of an elegant solution. What I didn't realize was the effect on nature, right? But I had talked to some key individuals throughout the city who lived in Hessville and sort of knew the area, and I was told that it was an area where kids sort of go back and, goof off and, run their all-terrain vehicles, and they sort of be kids, right? And they go sledding and those sorts of things, and sometimes they get into mischief and sometimes they get into trouble. But it wasn't. Nothing was ever really brought that this would be an environmentally sensitive area.
And
so
we've researched that since then. We'll get that to in a second. How much is this bridge proposed right now?
the construction of the bridge is a $10 million project, right?
And how much is City of Hammond putting up, and how much is the state putting up?
The City of Hammond's currently obligated for $2.5 million. The balance of that, the $7.5 million is state. There's more complexity to that because there's also engineering fees and right-of-way acquisition, those sorts of things.
And we're not doing this project. The City of Hammond's not engineering.
That's a really good point, Mayor. As part of the terms and conditions of the agreement with NDOT, they control the design and the
state of Indiana.
The state of Indiana, the Department of Transportation is controlling the design, not only on our project, but all of the local tracks projects in Cherville and Hobart and Elkhart, all the other communities that are involved, all of those projects are controlled by the state, right? So we have no real, we have input on sort of what we want to see, but NDOT's designer designs to NDOT standards, not to the Hammond standards. So there's, in some cases, they're over-designed.
So basically, if we want this bridge, we have to sacrifice local control.
Exactly. There's no question.
They're not asking. This is part of the deal. If you want us to pay for it with your local participation, you got to stand by while we design it and build it and just sit back, right?
Which is wholly different than most of our federal highway funded projects.
Right. That's how the state of Indiana does it. They did the same thing with the Colt Stadium and stuff like that.
This administration has made the decision that we will fund, under all other cases, we'll fund the engineering. 100% up front. We have the resources to do it. We control the project, we control the design, and we can implement the project in a much better way, we feel. We still have to follow all the environmental rules using federal money, the National Environmental Policy Act requirements, right? The NEPA document we have to prepare.
I think we're digging down a little. Is Norfolk Southern putting anything into this?
They're about $500,000. That was part of the requirement for local tracks, is that the railroad themselves participate in the project. So
and they
about
$500,000. And they get rid of one at-grade crossing, which is why two at-grade, excuse me. You're right.
2 at-grade crossings, one in Arizona, which is really not used that frequently. In fact, it's not blocked that frequently.
Right.
And we did talk to Scott about whether or not that was okay. And Parrish was the other one we agreed to close.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor.
Then we put out a survey. Kevin, you helped us with the survey. Can you talk a little bit about the survey, how we chose the parameters, how many were sent out, and then I'll go through the results. And Eva, we have copies of the survey, and I don't think we have enough for this whole crowd. So could you throw a few on each table so they can be shared by the audience? Because, Kevin, we prepared, I want to say 15,000. Is that true, or is that's too many? Too many, okay. Well, just...
I noticed you didn't start with people trust lawyers.
No,
better than
you're in my group. I'm a lawyer and a politician, so I don't got much. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Mayor, there were 5,800.
Yeah,
surveys.
it goes without saying. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah,
So we're on the same boat.
Yeah.
5,800 surveys were sent out.
So we send out 5,800. Now, a lot has been made about the parameters. Listen, this isn't my first traffic change over the 20 years. When we do things that we are going to have an impact on a neighborhood, like change the traffic patterns, we always survey. That's just the way I do it. It's not legally required. It's just the way I do it. I want to make sure if I'm going to make these changes in your neighborhood, I'm supported by the neighborhood. And we've done this every time. And by the way, we've had the neighbors come back a couple times and spike a project, and I got rid of it. And I thought they were making a mistake on a couple, and I got rid of it because, hey, I'm not going to do a permanent change in your neighborhood if the neighbors aren't into it. Even though I think it's better, the neighbors know better than me. Okay? So this isn't anything unique to Hessville. This is just the way we do business when we do a traffic change. And there was no like grand conspiracy. I hear a lot about the grand conspiracy. I didn't get a survey. This is how we decided. If we're going to build a bridge in Hessville, who's going to be affected by the bridge? That's how we decided. So Kevin, we made the parameters what?
I believe it was, and Dean helped me with this because I always
I
get
have
this
it right
messed
here.
up.
I was giving you a layup.
You were
man.
giving me a layup. It's I think it's 165th all the way to
165th to the north.
Right.
Soundwall to the south.
165th to the
north.
To the north.
Soundwall to the south.
Kennedy to Grand.
Kennedy to the west.
Yep.
Grand to the east.
Thank you.
Now this is our thinking. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, I was going.
Our little segment didn't go as well as.
No, I was going to talk about the survey and why we did what we did. But
okay.
Yeah, you want me to get into a number of responses, or you
sure,
got all that?
Hold on 2 seconds.
Yep.
There's no grand conspiracy. If you live east of Grand, there's no grand conspiracy. I didn't get one. I drive in this part of the city every day of my life, multiple times. I didn't get a survey. This was our rationale. If you live east of Grand, stop trains don't really affect you. You got Klein right there. That was our thinking. If we were wrong, I apologize. That's our thinking. It's not, hey, if we send it east of Grand, there's going to be people that vote against this. That is so ridiculously, preposterously false, it's offensive to me. That's why we did it the way we did. 165th to the Soundwall, Grand to the east, Kennedy to the west. That was as much thought that was put into it. We sent every household in that parameter a survey. And we tried to be, my part-time job, besides being your mayor, I'm an elected official and I play politics sometimes, right? And we do polls. So I'm pretty good at polls. And sometimes in polls, you try to sway people. And in this case, we were trying to sway you away from us. We wanted to see if you were going to be on board. Like, I think this is a good project. We were leading you to think that we were trying to persuade you to go against it in our questions. So we're going to go through the questions. We had, by the way, out of the 5,000 something we sent out, we had only 630 come back. By the way, municipal elections, we get 15 to 20% of the people to vote. So it's right in, it's horrible, but this is sort of what you get when you're doing surveys and when you're doing voting and stuff like that. So Kevin, could you go through the survey?
Sure, I'd be happy to, Mayor. And that was an interesting comment you just made, because sometimes it's really frustrating, I think, as folks that work in government, and you hear about people saying like, complain about this, complain about that. And we always say, like, isn't it crazy that only 18% sometimes vote in our elections, or 25% of the people vote in elections, yet, you represent 100% of the people. So the percent of response rate wasn't like, oh my gosh, that's so low. It's really more of, well, that's about like an election, right? So just to talk a little bit about the survey, and I know the mayor wants to get to the numbers, and I'll let him do that, is that the idea here was to really look at the questions. And the process of that, by the way, was an internal group. We worked with the IT department, chief of staff, mayor's office, law department, and it wasn't the mayor looking over our shoulder saying, ask this question. So what we really tried to do was go from very general questions to talk about what impact trains have on you in Hessville, just on a personal level. Do you think it's an issue? Before we even got into questions about the actual bridge. So the first three questions that the mayor is going to go through are pretty general questions.
Okay, let's go through the first one, Kevin.
Sure.
How often are you impacted by a stopped train in Hessville? This is as generic as it gets. Can we agree that we're not leading you? This is not a grand conspiracy. We're not trying to trick anybody. How often are you impacted by a stopped train? 58% said daily or more than once per day. 58% of our respondents.
Yeah, and
That's the
interestingly,
majority.
it goes up to the mid to high 80s if you count even weekly.
If you do weekly, mid to high 80s. Almost everybody. By the way, when you say only 600 and something people, you could do an accurate presidential poll in the United States of America with 400 and something people. Accurate to like 2 or 3%. So we got 600 Hessville families to respond to this. This is accurate. Thank you. Okay, let's go to the next question, Kevin.
Sure. Second question, Mayor, really just discusses, as a personal belief, how strong do you believe that stop trains in Hessville are an issue that you want the city government to address? Pretty
How strongly do you
open-ended.
believe stop trains in Hessville are an issue that we'd like your city government to address and solve? Very strong, somewhat strong, 84%. We're getting big numbers. So first, it's a big impact on my life. 84% say we want you to do something about it. That's what we're getting off the first two questions. In big numbers, by the way, not 51%, 84%. Question 3.
Yeah, the purpose of question 3, Mayor, is to talk about, and as Dean mentioned, the way this came about was there was a program called Local Tracks that was federal money that flowed to the states that was specifically for railroad crossing solutions. And because we were thinking about making the application, or we made the application, the question is, hey, would you want the city to partner with the state to find a solution by using a bridge? So specifically, we talked about a bridge in this question, and would you like the city to partner with the state to have them help money-wise to find a solution?
508 of our respondents, or 81%, said yes.
And then we kind of start drilling down a little more into detail to see where people think about specific solutions. So question 4, Mayor, you can go ahead. It's specifically about feelings about the bridge.
How strongly are you in favor of the bridge being built? These are all very generic. Very strong or somewhat in favor? 64 plus
75.
12.
Yeah.
Yeah, 76 really. 76% very strongly in favor or somewhat in favor. Keep in mind that on the other end, 21% are not in favor at all or strongly against. 21% strongly against, 76% strongly for.
And then the next question is an important one because it kind of, the purpose here is to see where people feel when given a certain set of facts that may impact their feelings about the project. So this one specifically addressed the environmental concerns in the project.
In politics, sometimes if I was trying to beat up Todd Young, say for instance, and I'm like, are you going to vote for Todd Young? And you say yes. And I'm like, did you realize Todd Young did this? And did you realize Todd Young did that and this and that? And you're like, man, I didn't realize that. And then we ask you the same question. Now, how strongly are you in favor of voting for Todd Young? And if you're like, I'm still strongly in favor of him, you're a strong voter. That's important information in politics. That's what we do. What we try to do is see if we can give you facts and drive you away. That's what we were doing here. We were killing our argument here. So listen to the question. This is against the city. The proposed pathway to the bridge is through the undisturbed wooded area, sometimes referred to as Briar East Woods. That will result in hundreds of trees being cut down and habitat disturbed. Knowing this, how strongly are you in favor of the bridge being built? This is not flattering towards our argument at all. This is trying to push you away from us to see if you're still in favor of the bridge. We want to know how much you want the bridge. That's why we asked this question. And it worked. We drove some people away. And yet still, 62% of the people that responded are still in favor. Went from 76% of the respondents to 62. And the number of people against it rises to 31%. Still 2 to 1. 2 to 1.
And then the final question, Mayor, kind of brings everybody back. So like now at this point, they have knowledge of, hey, here's the positives. You can partner with the state of Indiana. It can help eliminate stop train traffic by building a bridge. But by the way, a lot of trees are going to come down. Undisturbed habitat may be impacted. Given all the information you currently have, we just ask a real, again, kind of generic question at the end to see where everybody is before the survey ends.
Do you believe that building the bridge is a good investment by the city and that it will positively impact the quality of life in Hessville? 471 out of the 600 respondents said yes, which is 75%. I've heard a lot about how corrupt the questionnaire was and the survey wasn't sent to me and they skipped my house. Come on, are we seriously? Let's don't get into this federal government crap. Like not making stuff up, okay? I'm trying my best to be your mayor, and we're trying my best to tackle a tough issue that cannot be tackled through any other means than going over it. I guess going under it as well, but we'll talk about that as well. Dean. I know Munster just got done doing a tunnel. And if I remember correctly, the tunnel in Munster took, I want to say a decade to build. It took forever, and it was $20-something million?
So
pre-pandemic money, which is more than that now.
And you're right. The end result was a $25 million underpass. It's an arterial, right? It's a major primary road that runs through Munster. The original project, though...
45th's not an arterial, is it?
Yeah, 45th would be an arterial, considered an arterial. Our street's a local street. They have 2 lanes in each direction. Okay. It'd be considered an arterial. The interesting point of all this, though, is it took about 10 years to design, but the original project was a $45 million double underpass of the Canadian Northern Railroad tracks. Munster had to wash the Calumet Avenue crossing because of the cost of the project, right? It was a $45 million project they couldn't afford to do. So they got one underpass for $25 million, albeit that's a 4-lane, we're looking at a 2-lane. Easily a tunnel would be 2 times the cost of our bridge project because of
Did we ever seriously look at a tunnel?
So we did after we went through an original evaluation of the alternatives. We did look at a tunnel, but the current alternative is still the best economical, less impactful project than a tunnel.
So how do I get my kids to school if I live at the Little Red Schoolhouse or around that area and I want to get to Morton High School and there's a stop train? I'll say this to myself.
Yeah,
you go down 173rd, you take a left right by Paris's barbershop, and you go up over the new bridge, And which brings you to 171st.
First, yep.
You take a right on 171st.
You will, yep.
And you roll right into
And
Morton
you're
High
right
School
there.
parking lot.
Yep. When the bridge is completed, that's what will happen.
We did this on purpose. We want to get you to Morton High School. Now, granted, I've heard the criticism. The kids that walk there, they're still going to have to walk. They're still going to have to go through the train. Unless they walk the long way, and I realize that's probably not going to happen with kids. I agree. That's the weakness. The kids that walk are still going to have that temptation to go through the trains. We got a picture right over here. Phil, you grew up in Estville, right? And by the way, thank you for bringing those. I know Gary Gleason got those to us. Could you talk a little bit about your perspective on this as the chief of staff, Phil?
Sure. Yeah, I grew up in Hessville pretty much my entire life. In fact, my dad still lives on Kansas, same house we grew up in. And back in the day, when you're a kid, young kid, and you see kids kind of climbing over trains that are stopped, I guess back then it was kind of funny. I never did it, by the way. I want to make that clear. I never had the courage to do it. But now, you know, when you get perspective, when you work with the city, and people are calling the mayor's office, and they're saying, hey, there's kids climbing over these stopped trains, and it is very dangerous. And we as adults have a much better understanding of that than kids do, because all they're thinking about, hey, this will be fun. We got stopped trains here. We can climb over. Watch me do this. But we all know how dangerous that is. So, yeah, for somebody who's grew up in Hessville that has that type of perspective, this is a very important project to stop safety issues like this from occurring.
Ron Novak, could you grab a microphone? I heard a lot about, because there's a flyer going around. Somebody stuck one in City Hall, so I grabbed it and read it, and I pulled a lot of the facts that we worked on today off of that flyer that's going around the community. The Briar East people allege that this proposal will destroy over 1,000 native trees. True? Or Dean, do you know that? I'm sorry. I think that's Dean's question. Yeah.
So our understanding is it's a number of acres of woods, but it's definitely less than 1,000. We're looking at more like 400 to 500 trees.
Okay. Ron? They also allege this proposal, oh, hold it. Where's the one about Tolliston Dunes? Oh. This will destroy the last protected remnant of the 4,000-year-old High Tolliston Dunes, which is an ancient shoreline that is extremely valuable habitat for wildlife. Is this correct? By the way, Ron is worked for the City of Hammond for 40 plus years in the environmental department. He knows he's like an encyclopedia on the city. That's why I'm asking you, Ron.
The Tolliston Dunes was created between 4,000 to 10,000 years ago. This particular area has a small pocket that is dangerous in regards to it being disturbed. But in most instances, those particular trees and that vegetation gets mitigated as part of this process and developed in other locations. So the balance is between safety and environment. And here, there's a safety issue over here, and the environment is not going to be ignored. It's going to be mitigated in another location.
Now, I know the federal government, and we're about ready to go to the audience here. I want to talk about the different agencies of the federal government that are reviewing this process. NEPA process, which is the National Environmental Protection Act, Policy Act, okay? U.S. Fish and Wildlife, Indiana Department of Environmental Management, the Army Corps of Engineers, and public hearings. Besides what we're doing now, besides what we've done before, there will also be a public hearing done by NDOT as well. Yes, sir. Now, do we have the option to say no? Yeah, we do. We could say no. We could kill this project. We could give the state of Indiana back their money, and they will immediately go to our neighbors and they'll laugh at us for giving up free money.
And reimburse them for the money they've already spent.
Thank you also. And we'd have to pay for the design work that's already been paid for by the state of Indiana. And we could talk about a tunnel. We're going to do a tunnel. Tunnel! We'll be here 10 years from now talking about that tunnel, looking for the money, waiting for stop trains. That's a promise. If you want to get rid of this problem, this is the route forward. I support this 100%. I'm willing to stake my reputation on it, and I'm going to. So now we'll go to the audience. I wanted to give the presentation. I knew what we were here to talk about, so that when you hear these allegations, we can put it in perspective. So, Sharon, Hi. What's going on? I'm sure
Good
there's a
evening.
couple questions.
There are. Do you want me to read through them?
Why don't you go through the questions, the written questions, and say, sure, on this topic. We're going to, now, if we've already answered them, we could skip over, right? Or I have to sit there and,
First is, what are the maintenance costs for the bridge upkeep and who is paying, say, over a 20-year period?
usually bridges are, I'm going to pass to the expert in a second, usually bridges are maintained by the county. The state's building this one. Once it's built, usually the county has responsibility for bridges. Is this one the same, Dean?
100%. It's county. It's already on their bridge inventory.
Thank you. So once we build it, the maintenance goes to the county.
Why are we taking important green space away when there are plenty of more worthy areas of redevelopment?
Of redevelopment,
Of redevelopment.
there's not one parcel of redevelopment that's planned in this project. Not one. This is a bridge and a street. And by the way, it's the only place in Hessville we could build a bridge. The only place. It's landlocked. Without massive eminent domain, which I don't have an appetite for.
How will the ecosystem services of the Briar Dunes, such as stormwater retention, biological diversity, etc., be replaced, accounted for in a design for bridge crossing? Or how is the removal of these financially and economically significant services justified by the bridge?
Could you read that again? Like, that was so long you lost me.
How will the ecosystem services of the Briar Dunes, such as stormwater retention,
Okay.
biological diversity, etc.?
Yeah, stormwater retention, good. Dean?
Yeah.
Dean and I don't usually have to prepare for mayor's night. I usually know most of the questions you ask pretty well, and I'm surrounded by my department heads, which is like a blanket. So I feel pretty confident. I studied for mayor's night today. Obviously got ready because I knew what we were facing, okay? And I looked at the plans, I looked at the stormwater retention, and by the way, I also looked at the route of the road and how it was taken into consideration, the high Tolliston Dune, to leave it alone so that it would still stand when this is all done. I saw all this today. Could you talk about that?
As much as possible.
As much
Mayor.
as possible, right.
as much as we possibly could.
It's
'Cause we
not going
still-
to be like it is now.
We still have to connect to Parish Avenue. That was the difficult part. The bridge in and of itself isn't anywhere near the dune, right? I mean, it's in a different area. So regarding stormwater, we had a meeting about 2 months ago with the designers, and it's about 5 CFS, and I know that's sort of esoteric to most of the group here, but it represents about 3% of our 3% of our stormwater capacity, which is pretty insignificant in the grand scheme of things. We have to keep in mind that Hessville itself is a separated system, so none of this area that's south of 169th really is in a combined sewer area, so it's not affected. So that storm sewer then goes to the Little Calumet River, and its effect, the stormwater effect from this project is insignificant.
But the good thing about this project is the gentleman that runs the sanitary storm sewer system is a Hessville resident also, Jack.
Yes.
Jack Smith.
He
Hi.
is,
How you doing, Mayor?
How long you lived in Hessville, Jack?
27 years.
So you know a lot about this issue?
Yes, I do.
Do you think I'm making a mistake? And I realize you work for me, and you're probably, everybody alleges because you work for me that whatever I tell you to do, you do, which is all bull crap. We all know that.
I
But as a
agree.
Hessville resident, do you support this project?
Yes, I do, 100%.
Why? Just tell me.
I had to learn the hard way is when I was coming home from Omni Gym. I was having a heart attack, and I called my wife at that same time and let her know what was going on. I happened to miss my turn on 173rd to go to Parish, which I ended up going straight to 169th, go east to my house, and there was a train sitting on those tracks. If by chance I would have went down 173rd to Parish, I wouldn't be right now. I wouldn't be here talking to you. I would be dead.
So,
they said I was surprised to make it to my house, to be honest with you.
And you had an ambulance waiting for you there?
Ambulance was sitting at my house waiting.
You run sewer department.
Yes.
You're pretty familiar with the sewer system throughout the city?
Yes, I got 30 years.
I heard something today that I never heard before. This is not undisturbed, true?
It is disturbed. I'll explain to you. At the Ridgewood Townhomes, that was established back in 1973,
Right.
which a lot of people don't know that there's actually sewer infrastructure back there along with fire hydrants.
So the sewers. Hold it, Jack.
I'm glad this is coming up because let me throw
Jack,
this at you.
hold on, Jack, hold on.
Let me throw this at you.
Yeah.
The Chinese restaurant, the Mexican restaurant, the Kennedy Crossing, they all go to the rear of that property and flow right through there.
So, Jack, let me ask you a question. So tell me, let's say, for instance, I live in the apartment complex there, and something goes wrong with my sanitary line, and it's just blocked up, and I can't flush our toilets, everything's backing up, the Chinese restaurant can't anything go out. This stuff happens, right? That's your job, right? You have to go out, and what would you have to do in a case like this?
We'd have to bring out trucks and try to jet that. We would have to troubleshoot to where the problem is.
So you would end up in this area?
Yes.
And you'd be digging. You'd have tractors.
We'd be back there with our backhoes digging that area up to find out what the problem is, or we'd have to clear out an area to get our TV trucks back
So
there.
basically, a right-of-way already exists in that area for utility work.
Correct.
And it's a water line, a sewer line.
Sanitary, you got storm, you got fire hydrants that are back there, and actually at 171st in Kentucky, that's where that large line runs through.
So it's not undisturbed.
Correct.
Another interesting thing I saw today, Dean and Ron, you guys are great. So they pull out photos of Hessville in the 1950s, another photo of Hessville in the 1970s, and then a photo today. Ron or Dean, could one of you guys explain to me what you saw in this from this area? I mean, because you saw the high Tolliston Dune, right? I don't know who's more comfortable talking about it.
I fear that people are going to get tired of hearing my voice, Mayor, but
That's
thank
all right.
you.
I've known you
appreciate
for
the
like
opportunity.
10 years,
Yeah.
and I'm not tired, so.
Thank you, Mayor. I do appreciate. So I printed out online. You can get historicalaerials.com, right? So I went to historical aerials because I didn't have any other source of aerial photography, and I did go to Google and printed out the current aerial that showed sort of the overgrowth in the area. So it's all very clear, and I'm happy to talk to anyone about this. In 1973, it shows the construction of the Briar East apartment
complex.
building and the Ridgewood Townhomes pond. So it shows the development of that area, and I thought that was pretty eye-opening to the extent that that was. And you can see that a lot of the area does show some original forested ground, but much of the area was farmland at the time.
Including the area we're talking about.
Including the area that we're talking about.
It's
And so
literally
if you-
farmland.
If you look at the aerial from 1959, you'll see clearly farmland throughout the area, and the in the area related to the Tolson Dunes is shown in terms of some certain forested area. Thank you,
Gotcha.
Mayor.
Thanks. Appreciate it. All right. What's the next question?
Where is the environmental mitigation for the bridge planned to be done?
There's a process that the federal government's that they're going through with the federal government, right?
Thank you, Mayor. As you referred to earlier, the National Environmental Policy Act of 1969, if I remember right, requires the process to go through all sorts of steps. One includes involvement from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, IDEM, and IDNR, and they've made a determination that in order to mitigate the tree loss, we are going to be required to replace the trees 2 to 1. Also, the habitat is affected to some extent by the Indiana bat, and there's another bat as well that's involved. While it isn't current bat habitat, and all federal projects in this area sort of are in that same vein. You can't remove the trees during bat season, but the trees could be removed outside of bat season, which would be the wintertime. But all the mitigation requirements that are being imposed by the federal agencies will be followed on this project.
Next question. By the way, Kathy, I'm so sorry. You okay? I got water here. Yeah, okay. All right. Cough drop? Yeah. Like, gotta keep those fingers limber. All right.
The stated purpose of this bridge is to provide safe passage of kids walking to school. The bridge would cause them to make an extra 2 miles compared to an underpass. Since the bridge does not fulfill its stated goal, what is the real goal? Why choose a bridge over, above?
I got
a
the
deal
gist. I
with
got the
housing-
gist.
and
I don't.
Deal with a housing developer.
The issue is to deal with stop trains. It's the main reason I'm doing this, is because of stop trains. The weakness in this proposal, I acknowledge, are the kids that want to walk down 173rd to get to Scott Middle School will still be tempted to do that. I acknowledge that. But the people that drive their kids, if they were stopped at that same location in a car and they had their kids go through a train, that's just pure ignorance, okay? Because you could backtrack and drive over the train. So why wouldn't you do that on the bridge? I acknowledge that kids that walk still have that temptation. Okay, next.
I have heard that emergency closings are able to be cleared for a rail crossing. Is this a possible route for an alternative?
I don't know anything about this. Emergency closure? Oh, could you say it again?
I have heard
Anybody?
that emergency closings are able to be declared for a rail crossing. Is this a possible route for an alternative?
Well, I mean, that's not going to work. If we say, sorry, Norfolk Southern, you can't go through Hammond anymore, that's not going to work.
Well, that would be a closing of the roadway, not the railway.
gotcha.
They would never
Gotcha.
permit closing of the railway.
Agree with you. I don't know what you're talking about. So, they didn't close it to rail traffic because that's an interstate commerce issue. It's a constitutional issue, and trains are stronger in Calumet City, just like they're stronger in Hammond and Indiana. So I hardly think it happened in Cal City. What they probably did in Cal City was close it to traffic. I could see that.
And Mayor, I mean, we've met with the FRA, I'm going to guess right now, probably 4 times in the years I've been chief of staff, and we've talked to them over and over again about these issues. And they always say, we're going to try and help, we're going to, we'll do what we can, and nothing. So I'm assuming if that was a possibility, they would have brought it up to us. I don't believe that's accurate.
I agree.
And by the way, the picture that Dean has, if people after the meeting want to come up and take a look at the picture, please feel free to come up and take a look at it.
Questions?
Okay, this is another one about not helping any students from Scott Mortner Hess School who walk.
Got it.
This one just says public comment.
Yeah.
Filling out a question before the meeting, before I get. Oh. Thank you. Before I hear from all these wonderful people, I don't know what I'm going to ask. So there's questions
Okay,
that I would
no
like
problem. You got the microphone, bud.
Thank you. May I please?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, she holds it.
So I'm sorry, I forgot. I didn't write down your name for fire. You
That's
said that
Chief Smith.
last year. Pardon?
Chief Smith.
Chief Smith. You said that average response time went down last year.
Our average response time over the last 8 years since we did the last ISO rating went down.
Fantastic. Even without a bridge. Amazing. Excellent job, guys. And then I would also like to say, you said it would be approximately twice the amount for a tunnel, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Easily.
What is the price on a child's life going over the tracks? You cannot put a price on a child's life. And
Right.
the first time that happens, whether you are still alive or you're still mayor, that is going to fall on your heart and on your head, or at least I hope so.
What are you talking about?
What am I talking? If a child goes, pardon.
All right.
If a child goes over the tracks,
Yeah.
and they get run over or die,
That's horrible. It happens
yeah,
too often.
and that would fall on your heart if you choose to go with a bridge over a tunnel, whether you're mayor still or not.
That could be the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
That's fair.
Yeah, all right.
That's fair. You can say that.
I'd
As an
say-
elected official,
all right.
I would say that it's
All
unprofessional.
right, you've had your
but
chance. Good job, bud. All right, thank you.
Excuse me,
Let's move
Mayor.
on. No,
Mayor?
let go. Yeah, take it easy. Yeah, take it easy, bud.
Mayor.
Yes.
Mayor McDermott, Jeff Smith.
Oh,
over
hey,
here.
Jeff.
Our ISO went down, but it would go down even farther the next round to make saving people more money on their homeowners insurance.
Right. Thanks. Okay, question.
The whole city, yes. Oh, no,
Why
the whole
can't-
city's affected.
Why can't an alternative site be considered for the overpass like 165th Street? This would not be a disrupting neighborhoods or a natural area.
So 165th Street.
165th Street.
So the proposal would be a bridge on 165th that goes over. Where? Yeah. Is it 169th, are they saying?
It looks like 65th. That,
My question was 165th. I'm talking between Kennedy and Indianapolis. That railroad crossing there over there by the factories is one of the biggest messes ever.
Yeah,
There's always,
okay.
all right, that'd be
Yeah.
the most logical place, in my opinion, to put an overpass, which is needed. And that would not disrupt any homes, it would not disrupt a natural area at all, and that would take care of a big problem, because most of the time,
Okay.
I'm going down 165th, and a lot of other people too.
Right.
That's where they're getting caught by the train.
Thank you.
That's the worst spot.
It's sort of a different subject. I appreciate the comment, and I get stopped by that train also. I appreciate that, but that wouldn't help with this situation that we're talking about right now. So I appreciate the comment, though, and I hate that crossing as well, Mary Ellen. I've been stopped there plenty of times myself.
why wasn't this survey given in other areas of Hammond? I live in Robertsdale and highly value the woods at Briar East, especially it was down from.
Okay, I got this. When we did Boy Scout Road, now I realize that Hammond residents don't get around the city, we stay in our pockets, but when we shut down Boy Scout Road that's in North Hammond, and technically that's what, 137th? 136th? Okay, so we shut that street down. And after we shut it down, I surveyed the residents that we felt were affected by that. And that survey stayed in North Hammond. We didn't send it to Robertsdale because they weren't affected by it. Even though they used it as a shortcut, the residents of Robertsdale didn't get that survey. Because our thinking was, this affects people in North Hammond. It doesn't, if Robertsdale uses it as a shortcut. I want to know how the people in North Hammond feel. So we sent it to North Hammond people, and I got a lot of people in Robertsdale and all these other people that used it as a shortcut that said, you skipped me on purpose. You don't want to know how I feel about Boy Scout Road. No, that's not true. We know how you feel because you're using it as a shortcut. We want to know how the neighbors that are affected by your shortcut feel. So we didn't send it to Robertsdale. Same rationalization we used here. Now, if you want to attack me because I didn't send it to you, do it. I'm just telling you what our thought process was. And it wasn't, screw people in Robertsdale, they're going to vote against this, or I'm not going to send it to you over there east of Grand. It was the people that are dealing with this bridge live in this area. That's why we sent it there. Yeah, you're right. No, I sent it to the people that were affected by the decision we were making.
Is that your biggest complaint here?
Just, right. We're talking about Boy Scout. I don't need to talk about Boy Scout Road, so. I was talking about it as an example. If you want to relitigate Boy Scout Road, that was 5 years ago, so.
Is there an artist drawing of the overpass?
Yeah, we don't have it here. I apologize for that. It's not good for them. But we should have had it here. It's Mayor's Night Out, quite frankly. I was ready for this, but we didn't have designs and everything ready for you. I apologize. It's out there, though. It's on the internet. It's on Go Hammond. Yeah.
Exact location of overpass, homes to be taken out, where exactly?
It's 173rd, east of Paris's Barbershop. The 2 homes there have to be taken for this project to happen. I apologize if you live there. It's not a decision we're making lightly. I hate when we have to do this. Sometimes for progress. Do you live there? I'm so sorry if you live there. Do you live there? Okay. Okay. You have a nice neighborhood. I love your neighborhood. I love your neighborhood.
Where's the other end going to go?
171st.
I don't see how you're going to go
Okay.
north.
Bear with me. Bear with me.
North of the railroad track is that housing subdivision.
Yes, ma'am. Hold on. Okay. So you go, if you think of where 171st would be, think about Morton High School on 171st. And you know how it dead ends in the woods there? It's not going to dead end anymore. That's going to continue west and intersect with the north line that's coming off of 173rd. Okay? So when you get to, so you'll, right by where you live, right by Paris Barbershop, you'll go and you'll start getting up over the bridge. And when you come down, you're going to hit a T intersection, which is a new intersection we're creating, which is 171st. You take a right, you go towards Morton High School, towards Grand. You take a left, you go towards Paris, UPS, things like that. You're further north in the subdivision. What's that? Whole new road, ma'am.
All the way through.
Yes, ma'am.
And
No, we don't have anything like that planned, honestly.
And
There was
on
an
that-
initial draft that came out about this that had houses in it. I acknowledge this. We took it out, and there's no plans for that.
There's
Okay?
apartment
We will deal with
buildings?
that down the road if we deal with it. If we don't, we don't. That is not part of this.
I do have a statement that I'd like to say, though, just something quick. All the tracks, the trees along the tracks that are there, they buffer our houses from listening to the trains. There is so much vibration from the trains, you can see the stoop at my back door has vibrated away from the house. I got to tear it out and redo it. And if you're going to cut all the trees down, we're going to have so much more noises coming right into our houses.
Can we talk afterwards? Because
This has to be part of it.
There was a noise study done in the area. The impacts were minimal, but I'd like to have more details about where you live and to make sure that we're not impacting you.
We'll work with you, I promise. Yes, sir.
Close those two crossings, will the horns stop?
They should.
Correct. The
Will they,
the
do
trains.
do they have to blow them at 173rd still?
Yeah, because
So we're going to have to do
because it's
that.
an active crossing.
So
right?
we're going to have to do that quiet zone there.
We're working
Because if we're
on-
doing the bridge and we do a quiet zone on 73rd, the crossing there, then there shouldn't be any reason for them to blow horns all the way through Hessville, right?
So every crossing would require quad gates as we went through.
Right.
So Grand, 73rd, obviously Parish will be closed and the horns will not blow when they approach Parish.
Right.
Or
But
Arizona.
If we did 173rd quiet zone, we could stop it all the way through
And
there.
Grand.
These are good questions you're asking. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. This is good things to work on. Okay? That's why I do this, honestly. My job is to hear a lot of different opinions and do the best you can. And that's what I'm doing, okay? I appreciate it.
Why is a bridge better than an overpass?
Why is it
Sorry,
that a
underpass.
tunnel?
Yes, underpass, sorry.
Cost. Absolutely, cost.
We have another one that just wants to make public comment.
Sure. What do you got, Ken? Ken, the microphone's right behind you.
Hi. Yes, Mayor, there's a number of questions and things that I'd like to talk about.
Well,
tonight.
I would like to remind you this is Mayor's Night Out. It's not Ken's Night Out, so.
I thought it was a town hall type situation where everybody.
This
is
isn't
allowed
the
to
only
speak.
issue going on in the city of Hammond, Ken.
Yes, I understand it, Mayor, but this is the issue
All
that's
right, you
going
better
on
get
in
going on
Hessville,
questions,
sir,
or
and
else
this is
we're
what
gonna
we're
pull-
talking about. Why can't I speak?
What's your question?
Why can't I speak?
You better speak quick or we're going to pull the microphone from you. I got a
First
meeting
of all, you know, the survey that you put out, okay, it was extremely biased. It was. It had railroad crossings all over it.
Oh, my
It had
goodness,
ridiculous
Ken. You're so
questions on
funny.
it. And when you didn't mention anything about any other options, you never mentioned anything about that there were 4,700-year-old dunes in there. You never said, you mentioned one thing about trees, that was it. Nothing about all the other natural habitat.
Okay. I'm still waiting for a question.
Well, the point was, you want a question? I'm just making some responses to what we
I don't
see
need
here.
your responses, Ken.
I have seen Dean
Ken, I
Button's
don't need.
map.
All right. Ken,
Okay.
he's not going to have response. You don't have a question? Then we'll go to people that do.
Can I, Dean, I saw that map of yours, okay? And we did a comparison of the overlay of your bridge and the existing dunes that are in there. And those dunes are undisturbed, okay? According to your map, I was with several councilmen and we looked at it directly. Those trees out there are undisturbed and those dunes are undisturbed.
So what's your question?
I don't know what you're comparing it to, but it's completely wrong. All
Okay.
right?
Is that a question?
No, it's a comment off of his.
All right. Thanks for your comment. Let's go on to the next
misinformation.
question. All right. We're going to do the next question, guys. Thank you.
The grant sent to Indianapolis included a new subdivision.
The what?
The grant sent to Indianapolis included a new subdivision. We kind of just answered this.
Yeah.
And the area known as Briar East Dunes. Are you willing to say this will not happen?
I'm willing to say that will not happen. I would like to see one day more houses built in Nessville, by the way. I would like to see that. I like building houses. I think a city that builds new houses is a city that's not dying. Most people are usually really happy when you build houses in their area. Okay? That's a city that's alive, not dying. So I like building houses. There's no houses planned in this project, not a single one. But I do like building houses. That's my goal, to have Hammond be the type of city where people build houses. Isn't that horrible? That you have a mayor that wants to build houses? And I'm literally building houses? Keep on shouting out, guys. Appreciate it.
Ready? Has there been a survey of the number of species of flora, fauna, and animal? What's the plan for the trees and other natural debris?
Is this part of the federal government's job?
Well, it's part of INDOT's designers' responsibility. They are not going to do a complete survey. They're going to evaluate and determine if there's any threatened or endangered species, as is always required through the NEPA process.
Question for those against the bridge. How many of you live in Hammond? How many of you live in the section of Hessville that is affected by stopped trains? How many of you are involved in Hessville community events, parades, schools, cleanups that happen twice a year? When are you going to be a part of helping the city on this issue instead of fighting it? How can this lead to better infrastructure and planning concerning not limited to traffic to from businesses, biodiversity, conservation of natural life, greener ways to travel, foot, bike, etc.?
One more time.
How can this lead to better infrastructure and planning concerning, not limited to, traffic to from businesses, biodiversity, conservation of natural life, greener ways to travel, foot, bike, etc.?
There's going to be a way for people to walk and bike across this.
Yeah, so we have bike trail plan to go over the bridge to make access for recreational purposes. We're working with the businesses, JL Fastener and UPS, to make sure that we are providing avenues for them to get to and from their businesses, and we'll be replanting the area when we're completed.
Thanks.
Purdue owns 2 parcels that are right in the path of this bridge. How will you deal with this?
General property acquisition. I mean,
I've talked to Purdue chancellors every year I've been mayor, and I can tell you that they realize this is part of their campus. It was donated to them, but it's never been utilized. It's sort of like owned by them and just sort of sticks out there. It's not like they play softball there or anything like that. It's literally something that was granted to the school. I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Okay. This is a rather lengthy one. It is.
Did we cover a lot of them already? Or?
This kind of goes to home building in the area, but it's quite a lengthy one. If you want to look at that later and maybe get with the.
There's no homes planned for this area. The home projects in the city of Hammond right now, we have one going in Robertsdale, and they are thrilled, absolutely thrilled to be building. And we worked with the neighbors. We got together. We worked through a lot of the issues they were worried about, and we're doing a proposal there that's spectacular, and it's going to fill up. And they're so proud of it in Robertsdale. We should have that same type of attitude. But I want to say and make it very clear: there's no homes as part of this project. None. Okay. Very, very intelligent comments coming from the audience.
Everyone is affected by this outdated planning decision. Removal of key natural areas and opposite of improving resident welfare. Would you like to live in a concrete wasteland?
I live in a city. If I wanted to live in the country, I would move to the country. I live in a city that's jam-packed, that doesn't have a lot of room to move around, that has trains that park for days, for hours and days on end. And it's my job to make that city work. And that's what I'm doing.
Replanting complex ecosystems at alternative location is an extremely difficult and costly, not to mention uncertain proposal. Our Indiana dunes are a national treasure. The proposal to replant trees seems insincere. Why isn't this being addressed?
This is a tough issue. It's one of those issues you have to balance. And I think that we're making the right decision, and I stand by it. Is that all the questions on this issue?
That is all the questions on this issue.
I appreciate everybody that submitted a written question. We're going to respond to all of those questions. We got your address if you put it down, and you will get a response from us, so thank you. I don't know how much more we have to talk about this, being honest. It's not one issue. Ma'am, did you have a question?
So I wonder, thank you, if anyone had thought about designing let's see, on Grand Street between 173rd and 174th, a pedestrian bridge that could be built to withstand the weight of an emergency vehicle will have a light on either side of it so that an emergency vehicle could use it, but it would also have a walkway for children.
Right.
And then before and after school, the school board would pay people to serve as bridge crossing guards so that if children wanted to cross, they could cross.
Mm-hmm.
And then otherwise,
I've heard some proposals similar to this, ma'am. The one was in the same approximate location. Well, no, this was on 173rd. Build basically a pedestrian bridge that gets over a train. I've heard proposals like that to help us with this issue. So.
Right, and then it would be similar to the current bike bridges that
Yeah, it wouldn't be as sophisticated. It would be more literally very just get kids up over and get them down, but so that's something we'd have to talk about. But thank you, I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All due respect, we've done an hour and 5 minutes on this topic, and I'm going to move on because it's not the only thing going on. This is Mayor's Night Out, and there's people here that want to talk about other issues as well. So thank you to the people that submitted written questions. It is election year. I've announced that I'm running for mayor, and I'm going to campaign on this issue because I'm making the right decision. And I imagine I'm going to get overwhelming support because Hessville residents know this is the right decision. And I'm not denying the fact that there's a passionate minority of people out there that oppose this project. I respect you. I appreciate your passion. But we're moving forward with this project. And if you want to keep on coming and jamming up Mayor's Night every month, you have that option. But I'm still moving forward with this project. If I return this money, I'd be committing mayor malpractice. And I'm not going to do that. So being mayor is not easy. This is a perfect example of it. So we're moving forward. Thank you for that. And we're not going to talk about this issue anymore. So let's move to the next question.
Okay, this is a question about Gibson Park.
Okay.
Can the city provide a workout center where the old backstop is located? Swing sets needed need a paint job and need garbage cans on Parkway Street and Kenwood.
Where's Jim? Hey, Jim. Gibson Park.
Which park were we talking about?
Gibson Park.
Gibson?
Yeah, right.
Oh, Gibson?
Yeah. Yes, sir. How you doing?
Yeah, so I do Meals on Wheels and I go by the City Hall and you guys got that beautiful workout center there in Martin Luther King. And I was wondering if something like that could happen in Hessville.
That's a great idea.
Hessville Park or Lost Park. Lost Park has a walking trail. A lot of people use it. And there's an old backstop that I played Little League there 60
I know exactly
years
where
ago,
I know exactly.
and nobody uses it. And I thought that'd be a nice location for a workout center.
Write it down, Jim. I like that idea. It's a great idea. Thank you for the recommendation, sir.
And as far as the swing sets, they're old. They're probably 60 years old. They need a paint job. They're nice old swing sets. They need to be. We want our kids to, when they play there, to feel like they're being cared for. And if we paint, just all they need is a paint job. And garbage. There's no garbage cans on Kenwood, which is the, running east and west on one side and east and west on the other side Parkway. There's a 4x4 post with a hook for garbage cans, but there's no garbage can on either side. There's only garbage cans on Delaware and California. So I think it would help with the litter if there were more garbage cans for people to.
Okay, yes, sir. We'll look into that. We are also looking at the fence around the playground. I know we've talked about that fence as well.
Thank you, sir. And he has a written question?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Give me a copy of that.
Yes.
I love that idea. Thank you, sir. And those little, they're like the outdoor workout equipment. We got it in Columbia Park. We got it in Martin Luther King Park. They're used a lot. Irving Park, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Exactly. Agree with you. Great question. Thanks. Like I said, this is why you do Mayor's Night. This is why you talk to residents. You guys have better ideas. So, and when you have 80,000 people that live in the city, there's a lot of great ideas out there. So thank you, sir.
Is it legal to pump your sump pump from your house to the street sewer?
No. Nick with Code Enforcement. Drainage across property lines is an ordinance violation, so you do have to maintain your sump pump drainage on your property. and ensure that it does not travel across your property line. Discharging it into a public sewer would be considered a violation.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.
So that means that someone can't dig a hole from their sump pump in their backyard.
I have a feeling there's something going on here.
Underneath the sidewalk to the street going into the sump pump. Absolutely not. Oh, okay.
Tell me this isn't one of my employees.
And what if they actually spray paint on the street, sump pump, and we see city people looking at that? What does that mean?
Hey, Jack.
I'll give you a scenario. People like me that drive down the street and I see water coming out of the ground, first thing I do is I get on the phone, I call Casey Farrell. Casey comes out there and says, hey, that's a sump pump line. So that's why they write sump pump line, so people like me that see water coming up, we take care of that issue.
So why don't you talk to Jack?
Well, I'm sorry, you might have misunderstood. It's not you that spray painted.
No, I know. It's probably water department because
No,
they're
the
tired.
No,
resident.
Jack.
The
This sounds to me
resident.
like somebody.
The
Yeah.
resident himself spray painted it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Nick wants the address.
I do have it.
Yeah, I know.
Can you change and improve the notice to owners of affected property? I had only one day to change my schedule in order to attend the meeting. My neighbor received their notice 2 hours before the meeting. Another neighbor did not receive a notice before the meeting.
Hi, sir.
This was, first of all, thank you for doing this, and
Yeah.
good evening to you. First of all, this is a very intense meeting, and
This is going to rank up there. Yeah.
and I'm going to ask my question or this question at the next mayor's
Okay.
night meeting. But I do want to point out that this table really made me uncomfortable with their comments and with their obscene gestures. I think they're all city employees, so I would have seen that you saw them. I did comment to the president of the Common Council. He did nothing.
Okay.
So
Sorry
I just
about
want to
that.
let you know that I'm uncomfortable. And this is a very valid question about this notice of, and all I want to do is just improve,
Notice
the
for what,
opportunity.
sir?
Well, this is the notice to owners of affected property, so that if you're doing a rezoning on a property, then you receive a notice.
Oh.
Well, most of my neighbors did not get the notice. So again, I'll bring this up at the next
Okay.
at the next meeting. It is valid, and your city employees do, just ignore the issue.
Right.
Unless you want to talk about it now, I'm comfortable.
No, we don't want to ignore anything, sir, but if you want to wait until next meeting, that's no problem. Or Brian, why don't you go ahead and address it? It's out there. So this is about something we just had, a zoning issue concerning Cal College. I know you live close to that, sir. It's okay. Come on, guys. This wasn't the most ideal, mild-mannered meeting all around, so.
Okay, the notice that it goes to the adjacent property owners is sent by certified mail, and it is the timing of that letter going out is tied to how the state statute is written for how notice is sent out for Plan Commission meetings as well as the Board of Zoning Appeals. And it has to be postmarked. Okay.
No problem, man.
Okay. The notice is postmarked a minimum of 10 days before the meeting. At our last Plan Commission meeting, it was a case that the staff handled, and we actually postmarked it 12 days before the meeting. Unfortunately, we are not in control of the Postal Service as to how quickly they deliver the mail. And as most people know with certified mails, you actually get a notice that a letter is available, and you have to actually go to the post office to pick it up because it has to be signed for. And those things are kind of outside of our control. We can talk about, maybe changing it to on a regular basis to 12 days or 13 days before the meeting, but we still are at the mercy of the Postal Service.
that statement that you just made is an excuse for taking away the choice of residents participating in these meetings. The question is to provide a solution to restore that choice for the residents. Now, you paid $8 for one certified mail. At least that's what my post office said. And it went through South Suburban Illinois. Do you know the service being provided by the post office? How does the post office deliver the mail? Well, you just described that. And what you described was pre-COVID. Post-COVID, what the post office does is they just take the certified mail, put it in the resident's mailbox, tear off that ticket, and there is no proof of delivery and there is no signature. They also require their mail carriers to only deliver 5 certified mails a day.
Okay.
So again, I'm asking for solutions, and I have some suggestions if you want to listen to them.
Well, once you guys talk after the meeting, if you don't mind, sir.
Important. I think everyone's affected by this. You know.
Well,
First of all,
sir, we can talk about it after the meeting.
No, it's not unlawful to change the 300 feet requirement that you said to 500 or 1,000.
I'll be honest with you, this kind of stuff doesn't cross my desk. This is like routine stuff that's done by.
I bring this up at the Common Council, they ignore me. I bring this up at the city planning meeting for rezoning, they ignore me. I thought you might be able to be helpful and have some kind of influence.
Well, you're dropping like a full-page paragraph on me right now, and something that's pretty trivial, being honest with you. I'm willing to help you. Why don't you forward that to me, and I'll.
This is a choice of residents to participate in your government.
Okay. Why don't you forward that to me?
That's your core responsibility.
And I do want to make the comment that we did not ignore you because you also sent an email to our secretary and she responded to you. So we have responded to your concerns.
Okay.
I can't hear you.
All right, don't worry about it. All right, thank you.
Topic, Old Bargain Finder Building at 7147 Kennedy Avenue next to Hessville Park.
Yeah.
I've asked this question in the past,
Yeah.
Mayor's Night Out, the summer of 2021 and November 22.
Phil?
How many more
Africa?
opportunities?
No,
does the city
we're talking
want to
about the old Bargain Finder building next to Little Red Schoolhouse. It looks like crap.
I believe.
I wish I owned that building. If I owned that building, I would develop it. I just don't get why anybody would buy a building and sit on it like that. It's a good building in a good location. It makes no sense to me.
I believe, Mayor, after the last meeting where this came up, that building was cited. I believe is what.
It was
so-
what?
I
Cited?
believe, if you want to ask Nick Farrell, but I'm pretty sure right after the last meeting they went out and cited it.
Nick?
Yep, correct. The inspector was sent out to obtain current photos and issue a citation for the violations that are.
That was a couple months ago?
That would have been at last Mayor's Night Out at Jefferson School.
Okay.
After that evening.
Have you heard anything? That's just since you last know.
Correct. Yeah, they would have had
Africa,
an
where are you?
arraignment.
Hi, Africa. Could you grab a microphone? You know, I know Ann is not here. She's ill and she couldn't make it. And I know she'd probably know off the top of her head. And Africa's in charge of the whole department. Do you know anything that's going on specifically with this building right now? Have we been approached? Anything like that? You're not on.
I do not know. I know they say that in the last meeting it was brought up and code enforcement was made aware of the way that the building looked, but I don't know of anything that's going on. I know in the past we've tried to work with the building owner for development at that site, but at this point in time I don't know of any plans that they have.
I tell you what, if I owned that building, I'd put a restaurant there and it would do well. Yes, sir. Hi. Yes, sir. I remember that.
The thing is, just today I went by there and there's a building permit on the door that expired December 2021. So nothing's going on over a year.
Nick, give me a report on my desk. Let's just.
So like permits are good for up to a year. After,
I know, but
yeah, after that they expire. But if they're not progressing with repairs, that's why we issue citations for violations that aren't corrected. Typically, they have 30 days for an arraignment. If they fail to appear at the arraignment, then an order to appear for additional 30 days. So it's about 60 days out before we can request a fine or have them appear in front of a judge.
So let's talk about that whole block, really. You got Little Red Schoolhouse. I know that people are sentimental. I think it's useless personally. I think it's a huge waste of space, and it's getting ugly. But that's just me. I remember when I was a kid, we used to have great events there. There was an organization. It was a big party. Everybody loved it. We haven't had that in 20 years. I don't understand what that's doing. The bargain finder next door needs to be raised. And then the building even to the north of that, it's horrible. It looks like crap, Nick. Looks like crap. It's the big one. It's got all the material in the yard. They don't even try to shield it. It's just like, screw you, Hammond. Screw you, Hessville. I want a visit paid to that area tomorrow. And I want a plan about Little Red Schoolhouse. I don't know why we do it. Maybe there's people out there that feel good with it there. I don't know what the purpose of that is. Yes, ma'am.
Who owns the Little Red Schoolhouse? I mean, is it?
I imagine it's probably us. It used to be a not-for-profit, but it's sitting in our park.
So, I mean,
Still?
can't they do something with that bargain finder nasty looking building and
That's the one I'm
take
talking
Little
about.
Red-
Mayor,
destroy it, be gone.
so because this has been brought up, what we will do is try to reach out to the property owner and have some conversation with them as far as what their plans for future development is.
It's a fail. Yes, sir. He's saying he keeps hearing about the new owners, and he's right. And by the way, sir, thank you for showing up. You know the saying, squeaky wheel gets the grease? You are the squeaky wheel, and I appreciate it, okay? And I'm going to try to grease you, okay? So, that sounded really bad, but I apologize, okay? You are right, dead right. I was literally, and I know this doesn't make you feel any better, I drive on Kennedy every day of my life. I drove by it today, and I was looking at the bargain finder building, and I'm like, code enforcement needs to rock this person's world. It looks like dog crap. It is an embarrassment, Nick. I don't know who your investigator that drives by it every day and thinks that it's satisfactory, but it's not. I was thinking about it today. Doesn't do me any good because you asked the question first, but I promise you, I acknowledge you're dead right. And I'm on it, I promise you, okay? Keep coming to Mayor's Night, please. Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay. Thanks. No on the bridge? Is that what it says? Oh, okay. You can put that on. It's all right. Yeah, good job. All right.
Are there any plans to repave 167th and 169th between Southeastern and Indianapolis Boulevard? A couple of the worst streets in Hammond.
167th and 169th between...
Southeastern and the Boulevard.
I use both of those all the time. Yeah, they are pretty... 67th, that's the one that goes right by NIPSCO and and it comes out by the Sportsplex. Yeah, that doesn't even have stormwater sewers on it, does it? Right, it's unimproved. And then 69th is State Highway. And it's... Right.
69th, portion of 69th was done through a federal aid project a number of years ago.
Right. It's been a number of years.
That needs some work. At 67th, I know Councilman Werpel and Councilman Tyler have pushed to do that, but we have a lot of construction projects, particularly with the YMCA coming. So we made improvements to 165th. I hope you all appreciate the community crossings projects we did on 165th. We do have a plan to work on that. It's just not going to happen this year.
Do me a favor. Get a copy of that. Send it to Capital Improvement Board. To all the members, okay? And me, of course. And the engineer. Yeah. All right. What else?
Road repair, Kennedy, 163rd to East Chicago line, and new lights for 73.
Kennedy, 163rd, East Chicago line.
And new lights, 7,400 blocks of Arkansas, California, Colorado.
Good news on Kennedy. So we have a federal aid project that's in design. I'm sorry I didn't look at when the bid date is. I believe it's 2024 when we're bidding a project to, it won't be the same sort of improvements we did with ARP funds on Kennedy between 169th and 164th place. Going north, there'll be a bike lane, there'll be one lane in each direction and a center turn lane. So we're taking it from 4 lanes to a 3-lane section. It'll all be improved. We need to keep in mind that the bridge going over the railroad tracks north of 163rd, that's the county's responsibility. The The county has a project in design to upgrade that bridge, and so we're sort of working hand in glove with Dwayne Alverson at Lake County to make sure that all goes about the same time. And then there are the street lighting projects
We'll just send them to you on
Thank
capital
you.
improvements.
Thank you.
We don't, yeah. Like when we get like a wish list like that, we don't need to comment on everyone. We'll send that to capital improvement board and to the engineering department, so.
We have a public service announcement.
Okay.
For Talk to a Lawyer. If legal aid
Nice.
wants to go ahead and give for the Martin Luther King holiday.
Just a notice, January 16th, Monday, which is also MLK Day, is Talk to a Lawyer for free. We have a site at Legal Aid, 1402 173rd Street. We will be open from 9 to 3. You can talk to a lawyer for free, a 10 to 15-minute consultation. No income requirements or anything, just come in. If you have a legal question, you can get some legal advice about it. And talk to a lawyer. It is county-wide, so we do have a flyer in the back that lists the other locations, and if you can't make it out, there's also a number that you can call to get your questions answered that way. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to stop by.
So Renee, it's at Legal Aid, which is on Chestnut and 173rd.
Yes.
Right, and it's what time again? I'm sorry.
We're going to be open from 9 to 3 that day.
Thank you. And it's free legal advice from a lawyer.
Correct.
Great. No income requirement, nothing?
Nope, you can come in and just ask your questions.
How many lawyers usually are there?
We will have a couple, well, we'll have multiple throughout the day, so there'll be 4 or 5
Thank you.
throughout the day.
Appreciate it, Renee.
We have our MLK March on the 16th.
Oh, yeah. Could you mention that? Jim? Or
Luana?
Luana, where are you? Hi, Luana. Hey, Luana. You were hiding back there. I didn't see you.
Monday, January the 16th, starting at 6:30 in the MLK Freedom Plaza. We will be marching from that location to the Hammond Civic Center to have the MLK annual candlelight celebration. It starts at 6:30 a.m. Hopefully we have the same weather that we do today, except I don't think it might be like freezing cold, but.
Yeah, it usually is.
It usually is.
Yeah.
But everyone is welcome.
It's great. And since we've done the upgrades to MLK Park over there, we started in Freedom Plaza, and it's a gorgeous plaza surrounded by MLK quotes, and we do the march. So we suffered a loss in the Hammond Library. There wasn't a personnel loss. It was a loss of the library, actually, during the cold snap. I'm not sure if this has been in the media yet. Has it?
It has.
It has?
Yes.
But the Hammond Public Library, and Marty's also, in addition to running sanitary district, he also is the president of the Hammond Library Board. They basically had a waterfall going through the library. True?
So on the second floor, Christmas Day evening at 7:30, one of the sprinkler lines broke loose on the second floor, and about 100 gallons per minute were coming out of that line. So we closed the library. Library's currently closed. While remediation is being done, full inventory of all of the books is also being done. The fortunate thing that I remind myself and my board about, and the staff at the library, is that where the breach happened was in an area where there were desks and a work area. The closest book on that floor was 30 feet away. And of course, all of our inventory on shelves, so nothing was on the floor. But at the same time, because the amount of water, it covered all 3 floors. So we're in work with the insurance company. We've moved almost all of the carpeting out of 90,000 square feet of that library, 3 floors, and we're working diligently to as quickly open up a small portion of the library so that we can service patrons, and as we continue to do the construction on other floors, and so I'll keep the mayor and the staff updated.
Thank you, Marty. I appreciate it. I want to thank the council people in attendance. I usually recognize them, but I wanted to get down to business. So let's go through them real quick. I'm going through my head. 4th District Councilman Bill Emerson, thank you very much for being here, Councilman. 5th District Councilman Dave Warple, thank you for being here, Dave. I don't know if you're aware that your councilman in Hessville is the council president, Scott Rakos. Good job, Councilman, Mr. President. We have Janet Vanez, Councilwoman at Large. And then we have Dan Spitelli, Councilman at Large. I know this was a tough meeting, and I know emotions were high. This is my job, so I'm not offended. But I just want to thank you, and I appreciate all your passion. You know, with everybody's passion, if we make the right decisions, you know, we can make Hammond the city we all want it to be. So God bless you all. Be safe driving home. And could you come up to me? Do you mind? It seems like appropriate time to shut down right now. All right. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you later.